everyone, and welcome to the sort of grand finale of our 2025 webinar series. It's Christmas season, and I've been asked to be festive, and I am festive, and hopefully that's not too distracting, especially since you can only see the top part of this sweater. Anyway, here we are a week before Christmas, and at the end of the year, and it's been an amazing year. And I guess a couple of things before we get started. People kind of trickle in as these early minutes. So let's just take care of a few sort of housekeeping things before we get going here. So on the right side of your screen, you're going to see a big chat panel. And this is where so much magic happens in these webinars. This is where people ask questions throughout as the webinar kind of goes on. I'll pay attention to them, I'll answer them, I'll save them for later. People also chime in with their thoughts. So that's a really rich part of this discussion. So use that chat panel, submit those questions and comments as we keep going. And as I said, we're usually at the end too, there's going to be some dedicated question and answer time. So that's where all the magic happens. I spend a lot of time talking over the next hour, and I really, really, really love it when other people chime in because it contributes so much. So when we also kind of get going, you'll see a couple of polls. I'm really, really, really interested in that. For those of you that have joined before, it's going to be similar. You're going to see some similar questions, but one of the things that we love seeing, especially as the year has progressed, is how these answers change. We're back to talking about AI. A lot of the AI specific answers have changed mightily over the last 6 months. Who's using it, who's afraid of it, who's skeptical. So we're going to get there. And please chime in and participate on those polls. My contact information is going to be at the end. So if we have really subject matter specific questions that we didn't get to, feel free to get in touch. It's also really hot in here. I just realized this sweater is, I'm going to be burning up this next hour, but here we go. There's, I think that covers the beginning stuff, everyone. You see people kind of, I love it when everyone's sort of logging in from across the country. We've got Houston, we've got Chicago. I am based in Lubbock, Texas. I'm a law professor there. And what I also do, so I teach, what you're about to see is a discussion about AI in a way that I use it in my practice, the way that I teach it at the law school, using a product that has demonstrably changed the results of trials, trial prep, hearing prep. It's a super specific, wonderfully effective product, and it's going to function really perfectly in the use case that we have set today, which is all about experts. And we all know that the critical role experts play in trial. So we're going to cover a bunch of use cases, and I really want people to chime in with subject matter specific questions that they might have as well. I'm actually currently working with a trial team that's beginning its second week of trial right now. It's a federal case, and I used every single thing or versions of what you're about to see in anticipation to prep, cross-exam opposing counsel, opposing witness, and opposing expert. So this isn't theory, this isn't abstract, this is real. I'm really excited to jump into it. Before we get into the polls, while everyone's sort of kind of getting their bearings here, I'm just curious because we're going to show you Transcript Genius. And I'm going to show you that's Steno's AI product that is really designed brilliantly to interrogate transcripts and other documents. And I'm going to show you that, as I've said a few times now. But I'd love for people to chime in the chat with the AI that they're using. What kind of AI solutions do you have right now? What products are you using? What do you rely on? And what are you using them for? So as we kind of get this thing going, if people feel like jumping in and saying, this is what I use for this purpose, it would be really interesting to me because then I can kind of tailor some of this as the presentation goes on. So with that, let's get going. And I might, well, I guess we're going to start here with this poll. So this is a question, obviously, about expert witnesses. This is the webinar. I'm sorry, the webinar that we're doing today is all about expert witnesses. So, how many people are actually have taken these depositions or worked on them in some form or fashion? I mean, this is actually not really a surprising smattering of answers to me. Yeah, I mean, experts play a big role, especially in these different trials, and I think it's critical, given how intimidating their subject matter can be, their testimony can be, sometimes their CV can be, sometimes their report that they write can be, sometimes the terminology that they use, their experience with testifying, their difficulty sometimes to be cross-examined, the skill that it takes to cross-examine them or prep for that cross-examination thoroughly. All of these things go into making expert hearings really expert cross-examinations, expert depositions, really critical pieces of trial. Okay, so thank you for answers there. Let's move on to this other question. And I love this question because we keep popping this up from, over the course of this year, we've seen the data really change. Who is using AI? And like what we've seen over time, I think at the beginning of this year, if I'm not mistaken, it was a kind of a healthy dose of skepticism. A lot of people who were saying never, a lot of people who were saying, like, I don't actually really know what this means, which is interesting to see that having changed over time. But as you can see, even from some of just the small sample of answers that we're getting here, it has evolved so rapidly over the course of this year to totally upend and affect the legal sector in general. I mean, it's affecting so much in general, but definitely legal tech and the legal sector is being tremendously affected by AI. And it's not surprising to me that that people are overwhelmingly using it. For the person that answered the question about the firm not allowing the use of AI, if you feel like sharing, I would love to know the reason behind that. Is there a skepticism about it? Is it a large firm with a big, sort of a stringent tech policy? Is it a smaller practice that just has a sort of like, this is the way we've always done it mindset? I'm just curious what that might be if you feel like chiming in with that answer. So thank you for both of those. That's really useful as we kind of get started here. What we're going to do here today is, again, we're focusing on experts and expert depositions and expert reports, right? It's the deposition itself is a useful piece of information. The expert report is even more valuable. In conjunction, those two are really critical. And we're going to see the versatility of using multiple documents to get really concrete, actionable answers from really basic AI interrogations. We're going to also see, and I'm going to show you how simple it is in the case of Transcript Genius to have multiple depositions uploaded. And then they can be sort of interrogated against each other. So it may be a question of dueling experts. So how does our expert vary from their expert? How does our expert report differ from their expert report? I mean, there's a number of ways that we can sort of thoughtfully use AI in the world of expert depositions and along with their reports. What we're trying to do very often, depending on the setting, is, especially in a trial setting, is, I mean, either obviously underscore the importance and credibility of our own expert, or on the flip side, depending on what side you're on, challenge the credibility and the opinion or the underlying information or whatever it may be about opposing counsel's expert. Can we rely on what they're saying? And sometimes, depending on the complexity of the cases, we're seeing a lot of, obviously experts testify sometimes in elevated language. They use complicated terminology. They use really niche terminology. They use things that might not be accessible to jurors. The skill of the attorney, the practitioner in this moment, very often is to translate that into a language that might be more sensible to a jury, more understandable to a jury. It can render something tremendously complicated into something that feels much more accessible, and in a way that the expert is there to sort of underscore the importance of what you're saying, but obviously like make sure that people believe them without the jury feeling like they're being spoken to or lectured at. And I know that we've probably all had experiences like that as well. So then the other piece of what we're going to do today is talk about how we can actually use Transcript Genius to prep for an expert hearing, a Daubert hearing, or whatever your version of it in your state might be. How do you actually put together a line of questioning that can, even challenge their admission. I was in trial a few years ago, and one of my experts, we had a really contested expert Daubert hearing in advance of trial, and the judge decided to exclude my expert and then gave some reasons that then were found to be sort of in error on appeal. Using Transcript Genius to actually prep for these, I think, is going to be a game changer. And then obviously you're going to see what Transcript Genius is brilliant at, which is generating a cross-examination outline, and we can go through all of these use cases. So before I kind of jump into that, one of the things that we found to be really valuable is just setting the table, and then we're just going to jump right into showing how this is done rather than just sort of speaking at you the entire time. Is there anything else that you just heard from, based on what I just set out, is there anything else that people want me to cover? Is there any specific expert use case that you'd like for me to cover? If so, put it in the chat. Or secondarily, if there's any AI that you are currently using to prep on the expert front or on the witness front in general, again, drop that in the chat. I see that someone dropped in relativity error for doc review. Peter was talking about Harvey contracts, obviously where, Harvey, you hear a lot about these days. That's really interesting. Does anyone else using anything else? Or are people using Transcript Genius? So chime in with that, and let's kind of keep going here. That's where we are. We're going to kind of jump right into a live demo. So let me stop sharing this screen, and then I'm going to start sharing another screen. Let's go right here. All right. Okay. I think I fell off for a second, but I'm back. Here we are. We are going to get back into this demo here. And what I want to show you is, again, we're going to get to Transcript Genius here. And let me see if I can share this now effectively. Brilliant. Okay, so what you're about to look at, Dio, thank you, I'm back. You're looking at transcript. Well, you're looking at the dashboard. This is Steno's dashboard. This is the access point to Steno's technology, including Transcript Genius. Transcript Genius you saw on the previous slide was our version, our AI product that comes at no additional cost. You book a job through Steno to get a deposition or a trial transcribed. You have a court reporter come. Automatically then, as a result of using Steno, part of the technology add-on is Transcript Genius. Everything that you see here is not going to cost you anything additional because you've got the job booked through Steno. That's a really important thing to kind of keep in mind. I think it's an important differentiator now too, is this AI is just sort of everywhere. The other thing I want to show people before we jump in is that when you look at Transcript Genius, everything I'm about to show you here too is going to be secure, right? So all of the things that we're about to do, and you're talking about potentially sensitive information coming in expert reports, expert depositions. We have built this so that there's a heightened level of compliance. There's a number of different control security measures that are in place so that you can rest assured that what you're doing, what information you're putting into Transcript Genius is not going to be retained by the AI. The AI is not going to get smarter as a result of it. And, you can just feel free to go about using it. We're seeing state bars around the country talk about ethical use of AI. Ethical use of AI entails those two things that I just showed you, right? The security of the product itself, and then something I'm going to show you here in a second, which is the ability to verify what the information, making sure that the AI is telling you correct information. So when you click into Transcript Genius, what you see is a list. It's sort of like your file folder, right? I mean, what you're used to seeing digitally. This is where we can kind of slowly start drilling into what Transcript Genius does and does really well. I'm going to filter by case. And what you're seeing now in this instance, I'm going to show you a few different cases and a few different use cases, but we're going to slowly ramp up the functionality of what this product can do over the next sort of 45 minutes. You're looking just by scanning this file. What you can see is that there's a couple of experts down here. Obviously, we've got some lay witnesses. I know this person to be testifying as a non-expert, even though they've got all these letters after their name, which sometimes signifies a heightened level of importance, and they may be testifying as an expert. But we've got two experts, we've got some lay witnesses, we've got the complaints, and we've got other depositions. This is just a very sort of basic setup on a real case. And what I want to do is, since this is about experts, let's just start basically with an expert interrogation. So we've got a deposition of an expert here. On the left side, you're going to see 5 sort of auto-generated, pre-populated prompts that you can use if you want to use them for summary purposes, if you're looking for witness contradictions. And on the right side, you're seeing, obviously, the transcript of the deposition itself. That's going to become really important here in a second. But here, let's skip this. We're talking about niche specific use cases when it comes to expert analysis. So let's not go the summary route, even though that might be important. Let's kind of custom prompt this. I represent plaintiff and am preparing for a Daubert hearing. What I want to know is, in this case, I want to challenge this credibility and admission. How can I go about doing this? And I'm going to tell it, you don't have to tell it this, and I'm going to say include anything I might find to be creative or useful. I don't know. Okay, let's run this prompt. A couple of things about the prompt in general. I'm going to kind of peek back over in the chat while this is answering a question. Oh, I love people using Transcript Genius already. Hopefully, Crystal and Ali, this is going to give you some other ideas about how to use it. And by the way, while this is answering the question, Robert, I'm going to answer your question live. I'm going to get to this use case. Robert, this is amazing. This feels so old school. The fact that you don't have expert discovery, you find out the first morning of trial. I mean, that is total trial by ambush. You know, in Texas, up until about 2011, we didn't have anything, but we now have the Michael Morton Act, which gave a lot of defense counsel sort of much more advanced notice. So there was no ambush. But your use case actually now, I think it's a brilliant question, because Transcript Genius is actually a wonderful remedy to counteract this trial by ambush approach, because you can now take this information, and in about 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, and you will be able to thoroughly prepare either, a challenge to the expert in a Daubert hearing or a cross of that expert as well. So this is a perfect example. So yeah, stay tuned on that one. Okay, let me flip back over to the answer. I asked it to go through, and as I said, I asked it for a few things. I gave it the context. This is who I represent. This is a sort of platform. This is totally agnostic. Whether you're defense counsel, plaintiff, it doesn't matter. Give it an assignment, make it play a role, tell it what you're doing. Are you preparing for a Daubert hearing? Are you preparing for another deposition? Are you preparing to cross-examine? Are you preparing opening statements? Whatever it might be, give it a sense of the place in the life cycle of the case. And then give it the task. This is what I am trying to accomplish. Help me do it. Now, I've given it a couple more pieces of guidance. Be thorough. And then I wanted to include something that I find to be creative, which I think I creatively spelled the word creative here, but creative or useful. Sometimes good guidance might be, if you need more information before you give me an answer, ask some follow-up questions. You can really treat it like, a colleague or someone that you're giving an assignment to. Here, you're also going to see its thought process. So you can get a sense into this sort of show your work mentality of how this thing gave you this answer. And now it's giving me a challenge strategy based on what I told it. Let's start, as you would in any Daubert hearing, with a qualifications and relevance sort of assessment. And this is where it's kind of giving you the information. And take a look at this. After every single statement of fact, it's going to tell you exactly where in the transcript the source material is, so that, let's say, you go and have this Daubert hearing, and you say, Dr. Gruneweg, it's my understanding this is your first deposition in a long stretch of time. And this doctor says, or this nurse in this case says, no, it's actually, I did 3 last year. Then we've got some immediate impeachment information. But either way, you're also verifying the output of the AI. You can do that in screen, hyperlinked to the source material. Look, keep going, right? The inadequate investigation material review, thinking about progressing through the challenge to this expert through a cross-examination at a Daubert hearing. This flow makes a great deal of sense. It's given me the outline, right? Now I'm challenging the methodology of this person. Opinions not based on science or fact, internal contradictions and admissions. I mean, this is kind of a dream Daubert hearing that you might have. I asked it to be thorough. And as you can see, it's being thorough. It's also given me things I didn't ask for. Or specifically, it is giving them to me because it thought that it might be valuable to me. When I take this information and I put it in a document that I am using to prepare for this hearing, take a look at what it does. I did this the other day on a case I was working on. And as you see, this, well, that's because here we go. It's churned out a 10-page document that is the outline of my Daubert hearing. So to your question, Robert, I think it was earlier about trial by ambush. Now I have a 10-page outline that is reliable based on this deposition for me to go about sort of structuring the cross-examination myself. Great, let's drill back in. Based on this outline, give me a thorough line of cross-examination I can use. Okay, so we've got the outline now, and now we're going to fill it in. Let's get the questions themselves. Let's get them flowing in accordance with the outline. And again, what has this been? Like 4 minutes that I've been dwelling on this couple 100-page deposition. And in the span of that 4 minutes, I've got my outline. I've got my actual approach. And here's a line of questioning. And again, the value of the AI here is iterate, iterate, iterate. Your first prompt shouldn't be your last prompt. Drill back in. Do you care about the limited expert experience? Is that the thing that you know you want to focus on? Go down here at the very end when it's finished answering this question and say, focus exclusively on this limited expert experience. Amazing. And now you've got another really much more granular line of cross-examination. Okay, this is amazing to me. I love doing these demos. I love talking about this because I want everyone to really be thinking like graphically, we're slowly ramping up the functionality of what this thing can do. So I'm going to leave this over here. This is just one deposition, one line of questioning. There's no other context. Let's go back in here and now let's run a multi-transcript interrogation. And let's ask, in this case, how do these witnesses vary, I'm going to say differ, contradict each other in their testimony? Oh, okay. So now we're ramping up the functionality of how this thing actually works. Single transcript, drill in, extract the data from it, really make that accessible, actionable. Now we're taking 2 different witnesses, 2 different depositions, pitting them against each other, and asking it in real time to assess any areas where there's variance, any sort of difference, any contradiction. This is a really interesting use case to me because, as we know, like contradictions can mean a lot of different things. I mean, it means one thing outside the courtroom, it can mean another thing inside the courtroom. A contradiction could, as we know, could be like, I said this one time and then I said this exact different thing another time, and therefore there's like a credibility issue there. It could be that witnesses just don't have the same kind of information or access to the same information. So getting the AI to understand exactly whether it's an inconsistency, a contradiction, is it really grave, is it something much more serious, much less serious, that's another skill of using the AI. Again, we're going to see its thought process here if you want to drill into it. But basically what it's going to tell you now is, and I'm going to change the way you can see the citations here so that it's a little less, there we go. And take a look. I mean, here are the differences in how they testified, the severity of the sort of underlying situation, the underlying mental health issue before the case, before the incident itself, the standard of care, who testified about what, the regulatory, like here we go. So now we've immediately extracted from 400 pages of deposition transcript in the span of 30 seconds, all the key differences in all the area where these two people contradicted each other with access to the citations as well, right? So you can actually see the, let's see. Okay, yeah, you can actually see the source material. Anyway, all the depositions are over here on the right side. And if I come back over here, you're going to see still we've got this same window up that has Calvin's assessment. And maybe what we want to do now is take an answer that Calvin had to this question, or an answer that these two had when it came to witness contradictions. And we want to sort of pit it against each other. I don't know. This is another way that we can sort of run against multiple interrogations. Great. Okay. I'm going to show you one more on this case that I think is really, really, really compelling. Again, slowly ramping up the use case here. We're back with the experts. We've got the complaint now. Let's take both of the experts and let's take who I know to be the key eyewitness in this case. And now we're digging into all of this. Okay, I'm going to put it again. We're staying in plaintiff's mode here just because that's where we are. I represent plaintiff and am, in this case, preparing for trial. I'm going to say map the allegations in the complaint against the witness's testimony. Give me all areas of strength and weakness. And I'm going to ask to put it in chart format. So here's what we're doing now. We're taking the eyewitness, we're taking dueling experts, we're taking the contents of the complaint, and we're doing, again, a big, big, big sort of data extraction. It's really like a thorough data analysis. This is a project that would have taken me so much more time than it's going to take this AI to really understand the intricacies of all of the assorted allegations in the complaint, and then assess them against the different areas in all of these depositions where we're seeing supporting and contradicting evidence from the perspective of the side that I gave it, in this case, plaintiff's counsel. So here are the allegations that pertain to, in this case, the bathing and grooming allegations. That paragraph 29 says, failed to provide assistance twice a day. And then we're seeing, obviously, a whole host of other allegations that live in the complaint. And here is where we're getting supporting evidence, and here's where we're getting contradicting evidence, and then any sort of assessment that might be valuable to my case as well. So, I mean, this is like a pretty powerful, I don't know. I mean, I used it again last week to sort of do something very similar, and it was extremely powerful on this front. And as you can see, it gets information really quick. It gets information in your possession in a way that can become immediately actionable, and you can then decide what to do with it. Okay. Let me go back to the chat here, and I'm seeing Greg asked a question about comparing testimony between multiple transcripts simultaneously. Greg, I just showed you how to do that. It looks like you just said that you're clear now. If for some reason you have any follow-ups on that, let me just pop back over here and make it abundantly clear how to do that. When you go to Transcript Genius, you can pick the case that you're working on. And then you have over here all the documents that exist as a result of, because they're automatically there because you have the job book through Steno, or you can upload those transcripts or documents as well over here, like I did with this complaint. Then you just as simple as going over here and selecting the plus sign next to any documents that you want to simultaneously interrogate. And then you can see down here that it used to be the Transcript Genius couldn't handle, well, it wasn't Transcript Genius, it was more an AI accuracy thing. But Transcript Genius now can handle a tremendous amount of documentation at the same time. You're seeing that it can actually handle every single one of these documents across this case. Once I view the added transcripts, you're seeing all the documents it's going to interrogate. Now, when I go to interrogate them, it's over here on the right side, and I can ask all of these questions, all of these documents, a single question at the same time. I mean, so hopefully that answers your question doubly, Greg. Before I jump back in, Dan, I'm going to answer this question. How does it know which state law to apply? Amazing question. Okay, let's take a moment on this one. AI is really good at some things and not good at other things. AI is really good at knowing, because of how it's trained, a lot of important, relatively recent information. It's going to know, for example, like big name Supreme Court cases, because they're discussed a lot, because they exist in sort of the depths of the data on which AI is trained much more commonly than, say, a recent opinion from a local court in Southwest Idaho. AI is not going to know that. It's not going to know how to cite it correctly. It's not going to be reliable on what the case is standing for. It's not going to be able to shepherdize that case. So I would never be using AI to do any sort of case law research. What I would be doing is this is where Transcript Genius is good friends with Westlaw or Lexis. I would be using Transcript Genius to take a case that you know to be the leading case on whatever issue it is that you are arguing in your motion for summary judgment, or whatever it might be. I would take that case and I would come over here and I would say, I represent defense and am getting ready a motion or summary judgment, arguing whatever the issue might be. And then I would say, here is the leading case and the relevant sections from that case to apply. And then I would copy and paste the substance of that case down here, as long as that opinion might be. That way, you're giving it the specific information and not asking it to reach into its sort of psyche and try and extract that information. If you ask it to do the latter, it's not going to come back reliably. I have not seen any AI be able to do that reliably. The closest would be Lexis and Westlaw, and even then, the verification is just a must, because that's where people are getting in trouble. So that's my answer to you. Don't use this as a case law research tool. However, you can always give it the context. You could say, I represent plaintiff and this is an Idaho case, or whatever the state may be. And, this is the law that it's being sort of challenged here. This is the cause of action in Idaho. You can give it that context too, and it's going to have a rough awareness of it. But be specific, get in there and be really granular about the information you want to give it, the direction you want to give it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. And Kirk, I'm going to jump into this one too, and then we're going to get back into my favorite use case where we're going to show expert reports and all of this kind of stuff. Would you address the best way to have Steno summarize deposition that shows the page and line numbers in the margin of the summary? Okay, so we get this question quite a bit. This is a question that actually has a lot to do with the way people were traditionally used to getting deposition summaries. So I'm going to this one over here. This is just a single transcript interrogation. And I'm going back. Let's pretend it's a brand new interrogation. And I'm going to say, I would like be as thorough as you can be. For format, place the page and line numbers in the left column and the summary of those pages in the right. Okay. The reason I'm kind of showing you this in real time, Kirk, is I'm going to answer this. Kirk is a 35-year practitioner. You're seasoned, you're experienced. I love this. We can all learn from someone with the depth of experience that you have. One of the things that I think people, especially someone of your experience, it's been an interesting transition to seeing AI be as effective as it can be, is if you think of asking an associate a question, or a paralegal a question, or if you were giving yourself sort of implicit sort of instruction on how you want a project to run, do the exact same thing with the AI. I've asked it now to kind of just run through thoroughly pages and lines on the left, exactly what's going on with this transcript. And you can see that this is where it's getting the information. Now, it looks a little condensed over here, but when it's done, and it's going to take a while because this is a long transcript, and you're seeing it's kind of going pretty thoroughly through it. Once you copy and paste it, it's going to clean everything up pretty nicely. Let me see if I have another. I don't have another example. The table is going to be really easy to adjust, but here you have it, and you have the citations on the left, and then you have the page on the right side. If you had a range of pages, let's say you didn't care, but you just wanted this one section of testimony, you could say limit your summary to page 18 to page 47, whatever it is. You can be as specific, as granular as you like. Hopefully you're seeing this do the job that you want it to, Kirk. Great. Seems like you're happy. That makes me happy. This sweater is really making me quite hot over here. Okay, so let's go back to where I really want to go with this. Okay, we've shown, think about the summary here. We've gone through a single transcript and interrogation, prepping for a Daubert hearing, et cetera, et cetera. Then we went multi-transcript. We went, okay, how do these two experts differ from each other? How are they similar? Then we compared them against another lay witness, and then we compared all of that against the allegations in the complaints. Amazing. Take a look at this. Let's do something that I really love. We're going to pick a deposition of the expert. This is a defense expert. Expert CV. This is a list of every single time. You're seeing them as exhibits. Every single time this expert has testified before. This is the expert report in this case. Okay, we're going to start here. You're going to see these 4 documents. And take a look, and I want people to see this. This is a really, really, really cool use case. The deposition looks like a deposition. It's a PDF of the deposition. There shouldn't be anything surprising there. But now we've got these other exhibits. We've got this report, and this is the expert's report that was introduced, obviously, as Exhibit 2A as a part of deposition. We've got the CV. And obviously we all see, like anytime you're engaging with an expert, you're going to get the CV, and it's going to be so long because this person is incredibly important and this person has done all of these things, and they're basically invincible because their CV is as impressive as it can be. And then we've got a list of every single time this person testified before. Okay, imagine getting all of this as a stack of paper on your desk, and you're sitting there being like, okay, now what do? I have to cross-examine this person on Monday. What am I going to do? This to me is the magic of transcript genius, because let's do it. I plan on cross-examining this defense expert in 3 days. I need to know how to do that. What should I focus on? Also, I will analyze his CV and testifying history and give me, I don't know, any themes, patterns, I don't know, points. So I like to think of it this way, like none of you know who this person really is, or maybe you do, I doubt it, but none of you know exactly how. I'm probably familiar with the CV or how this person has testified before or where. Obviously you weren't there for the deposition, haven't read the expert report. But in this one question, what we're going to do, and I asked it, 20 seconds ago, in the next minute, we're going to get an answer that's going to give me a digest of, okay, who is this person historically? How have they testified? What does their testimony actually look like? Again, I'm going to change the format of the citations. Whenever you're doing multiple sort of document interrogation like this, sometimes I just want to reduce to endnotes. And because of all of this, it's suggesting that these are the critical areas of focus: bias and financial interest. Why is where is this bias and interest coming from? and it's giving you, again, the source material that you can click into. It's not, you can't click into it really until it's done writing the answer, and it's obviously still going here. And it's giving me a whole cross-examination strategy. Report preparation issues. So as you can see, like, I didn't even ask it anything about the report itself, but you can see that this person sent multiple drafts to defense counsel before finalizing. I would love to be asking this person a question. You know, do you, as an independent expert, or as someone who is supposed to be giving the jury an accurate, unbiased opinion on this case, are you tailoring the language that you're using in your expert report to what a counsel might find favorable? Like, how many times did you go back and forth on that? Credibility issues. You know, now it's giving me some specific cross-examination questions, patterns from the testimony history. And as you can see, it's identified that for me as Exhibit 2C, which is exactly right. Like, I love being able to see these little moments in an answer where I can just implicitly feel calm that it's really understanding exactly where it's getting its information from. It's tallied up 91 cases that this person testified at, mostly defense side cases, and notable cases. This is another thing that I really love. It's not telling me what these cases stand for. It's telling me to go and look at these cases. We have on the back end really tried to emphasize with Transcript Genius the idea that its strength is not case law research. Its strength is giving you information quickly so that you can go about verifying it and taking the next steps the right way. What do you think of this? I mean, we're kind of just talking about like multiple documents at the same time, and not just transcripts in this point. Let's do one more here. Let's just get it to focus on two of these. Are there between this expert's report and his prior testimony? So now we're just going to be focusing on the actual expert report and the deposition itself and looking for inconsistencies across both. As that's being answered, I saw a question in the chat that Tara's our amazing webinar coordinator, among other things, and she's not feeling wonderful today, but she's very active in the chat. Tara answered it perfectly. Vladimir asked, you put up PDFs, but Steno only accepts TXT files of transcripts. Was there an update? Yeah, there have been a couple of these updates that have already run. So you can upload PDFs now. And not only can you upload PDFs, but if the PDF needs to be OCR'd, if there needs to be a different format of that, if it needs to be more searchable, then Transcript Genius will make that happen automatically if it's not in the right format. And then secondarily, now it can handle a lot more documentation at once, right? As AI's capacity to accurately return information across like larger volume documents has increased, Transcript Genius has harnessed that power as well. And we've tested always internally to make sure that there's, the accuracy level has not dropped. And that's what you're seeing here today. So yeah, upload your PDFs. Still would say though, from an AI perspective, if you can get your transcript, which you should, in TXT file, it's much more sort of, it's a better experience on your end. And I would still, if you had to rank them, get the text file first and then the PDF second. Okay, we are looking at this answer in real time, and I asked it again for contradictions between the expert report and the deposition. And let's take a look. I mean, again, critical inconsistencies, major contradictions, and then how in the report it's talking about the witness, the plaintiff being violent and aggressive, and in the deposition actually admitting that none of that happened. I mean, this is a gold mine. This might not rise to the level of having someone excluded as an expert witness and being able to testify, but this sure does not play well from in front of a jury when it comes to using this information to challenge the credibility of this witness. And the weight that that jury puts towards the credibility of that witness during trial might change fundamentally as a result of this information. This is one of my favorite use cases. So let's do this one more now. Let's put it all together and give me a thorough line of cross-examination I can use at trial. While it's doing this, I want to go back to this document. I'm going to clear this document out, okay? And I want to clear it out because I want to go and do this. I want to take the 3 questions that I've asked over the span of the last 5 minutes, and I want to put it here. And you're seeing that the first question was just kind of giving me a lay of the land of those documents and looking for inconsistencies. This one is a deeper analysis of the report and versus the deposition itself. And now let me take this answer whenever it's done. And as you can see, it's thoroughly giving me a cross-examination. And the thing I like about this too is when you're crossing someone, obviously, you're kind of giving these closed-ended questions. I mean, so the expectation of all of these answers is yes, 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 no, 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 whatever it is that you want to say. And here it's even giving you an expectation based on the citation to one of these documents. So as you build your line of cross-examination, you have the impeachment information right there. You have the verification information right there at your disposal. And again, it's churning out a thorough answer. Just take a look at this. Let's take a line of this. You wrote a 28-page report in your case. Yes, in those 28 pages, you never once mentioned that this officer said, shoot him. No, I don't believe I did. That's a pretty significant omission because you knew that this happened. You testified about it. You said it meant this at the first time. The second time you said this. So it's not just giving you random questions. It's putting it in a flow, a sequence that is actually really usable. Let's see if it's done yet. And it is not yet done. Let's flip back over to this document. You're seeing, the reason I want to show you this is because, look, I mean, we're building, this is a 20-page document of inconsistencies, assessment of all of the expert information. And as it's actually giving me this answer, it's probably going to be a 30-page, this is probably going to turn into a 40-page document that you immediately have to actually hone in and polish and iterate so that you can get ready quicker and figure out exactly what you want to focus on more readily. Or in the case of what we talked about earlier, this trial by ambush, you now have a thorough, methodical way to cross-examine and prepare for the cross-examination of this witness. And let's see what it actually finalized as. I mean, almost to the point, to the T, right? Here we have a 41-page document with citations of all of the things that are going to allow you to effectively engage with this one witness. And it took us 5 minutes to do it. So we are about 10 minutes from the top of the hour. I have a couple more things I can show. Tara just said in the chat, again, there's going to be a handout for people to download in the handouts tab at the top of the panel on the right side. So pay attention to that. Does anyone have any other questions? Is there anyone sort of engaging with this or want another use case for Transcript Genius? Do you want me to press on? Otherwise, I've got a couple more that I can actually show you. I'd be happy to do that. Kind of pour in. Do we have any in this questions only thread? Best way, I think I've answered all of those. Okay, great. Well, if anyone does have any other questions, let's feel free to chime in with them. I am going to come back over here and you're going to see, obviously we're still in my same document. I want to show you one more thing. When I was building on a recent case that I was working on, when I was building a sort of a case summary of this exact same, like what we're just talking about, witness allegation, witness testify. Basically, you're seeing that I compiled all of these into a digital book that I was able to then use really actively when it came to witness prep, all by doing the things that you're just seeing right here. So if we go back in and we want to do one more thing, this is the last thing I kind of want to show. Now we've got let's take both expert reports alone. That's all I want here. I don't want the depositions. I don't want anything else. I'm just doing an expert report analysis. And you're seeing now we've got the reports from both sides. Okay. I want to say compare these two reports I represent, I'm going to just flip sides now. I represent defense and to see what may be. Just a high level, broad, just sort of, let's just nuts and bolts. Let's get some basic information from these reports and figure out exactly how to make it actionable. While it's doing this assessment, let me see if it looks like Greg has another question. Greg has a question. What is the easiest way to obtain hard copies and downloads from the work product produced by TG? Okay, I'm going to show you this as this question's answered, Greg. So just hang tight with me as we get this answer. I think I spoke to you all earlier about the security of Transcript Genius and the way that we've built it. One of the things that we're ensuring is that the AI is not going to retain any of the information that you give it. We don't want it to be getting quote unquote smarter as a result of the information that might be really sensitive, as it is here in this older case. And it's done now, it's doing this assessment of these reports just based on now defense side focus. Okay. This is the way you take this information and you put it in a document, Greg. There's no export, there's no sort of downloading, there's no coming back to this. You're taking this information and you're putting it in a document because you can now totally custom build that document for you. And that means you can get the information that you want from it, and you can build, you can follow up, you can do all that. But there's no sort of, you're not going to download this as a PDF and then have to sort of customize that, like none of that. This is you taking the information that you asked for and then custom building whatever document that you're wanting to use for a hearing, for a trial, whatever prep document that it is, a narrative summary that you might want to be giving to a client. I don't know. You can use it for a number of different reasons, but that's your way to take the information that Transcript gives you and do something with it. Hopefully that answers your question. Well, we're kind of closing in here on the top of the hour. Hopefully this has been beneficial. I mean, this is a really specific, witnesses are witnesses. Experts obviously have their own set of rules, and experts have their particular role in a trial or a hearing and the depositions that go along with them, obviously. But, you can use these same principles, not just on expert witnesses either. I mean, you can use these exact same principles when it comes to just engaging with your lay witnesses too. You can run the same interrogations against the complaint, against the witnesses who aren't testifying as experts. Or you could actually, another use case is taking an expert against a lay witness and saying, how does this witness experience, how does this eyewitness's experience contradict exactly the assessment of this expert? So you can be using this in a really thoughtful way to be continually assessing transcripts and documents against each other, so that you can get the information that you need. Last thing I want to say on this front is people very often, like, let's do this. Let's say, do these witnesses contradict each other? I'm going to ask this question. Now, this is a very simple request, and it sounds very straightforward, but then sometimes I've seen people get an answer from AI because they're intimately familiar with the substance of the case, and they'll say, well, it's interesting that the AI didn't flag that as a contradiction. Like, that's not really a contradiction. What I would say transcript. Maybe it is identify every single area where there's inconsistencies across these witnesses' testimony. How critical are these inconsistencies? Rank them in terms of severity. And then that's where you give license for the AI to really be on the same page as you when it comes to assessing the substance of the material itself. Everything that is a misaligned sort of set of information is not necessarily a devastating killer at trial. That's not the way this works. But it does, if you use AI correctly, you then, as the expert in this case, on this case, can figure out exactly what you want to do with it And you can see right here, like this is what it's going through. This is its entire thought process. This is what it's going to give you the answer to that question. Well, I think, everyone, that is what we have today on the expert front. You're going to see over here at the end, there is this attorney work style quiz that we've put together. Our marketing team has done a really masterful job of being incredibly thoughtful at helping you. And as someone who's taken it himself, it hits the nail on the head of how you actually think and practice. It's a really wonderful exercise to do. So click on that, take that, and just get another sort of interesting insight into the way that your mind might work. It also gives you a nice little key or clue into how you might benefit from using AI on the back end. I believe, as Tara also said, if you click on the right side in the handouts tab, you're going to see a downloadable document. And yeah, it's going to be sort of an AI prompts document that you can take with you. And that's our gift to you this Christmas. Hope everyone enjoyed this. You've got my information in the chat. If people want to reach out, please feel free to do so. And I'm always happy to be a resource with whatever questions you might have on the AI front. So with that, enjoy the rest of your holidays, everyone. And thank you for being here today.